Hello Year 12, I just wanted to ensure that you were feeling confident about the resources that I've set for you for your up and coming NEA. So I'm going to give you a quick talk through about the resources that you've got. Now I've sent you all an invite for a Q&A session on Monday at 1 o'clock as well, so if you need any further advice before we have our 10-minute one-to-ones on Wednesday, do let me know. So this project is approximately 20% of your final outcome. Now it's marked out of 60, and we'll talk through the different sections in a second. So an A star is 54 and above, and as you can see, the other grade boundaries there. Now it's absolutely possible for everybody in our class to gain an A or an A star with my support and guidance, and obviously your hard work and dedication. So I've just put on here obviously the deadlines that we'll be doing things. So at the moment we're looking at our initial ideas, and then you put your proposal to me, and I need to agree that. In September you will do a literature review, but I can provide you with some reading to do over the summer in preparation for that. You'll then move on to your introduction. You'll then do your methodology and your data collection, risk assessment, and obviously carry out your methods. I've put July, August and September for this because some of your data collection you might want to do over the summer when you've got time. We'll then do the presentation and analyses of the data that you found. You will then draw conclusions for all three of your sub-hypotheses, and then an overall conclusion to the main hypotheses. And then you will do an evaluation section and consider the wider context and ethical issues of your investigation. Now I've set a deadline of Friday, October the 16th, that's a week before half term, allowing me to obviously give a preliminary address and time for you to make any changes over half term. So this section here is what you're going to fill out for me ready for next Wednesday. I have in the folder that things I put in this week's information, I've put the specification here, which you'll find changing places or urban, and you actually have to quote which section particularly that you'll be looking at within it. Obviously you've got your NEA booklet that I'm going over at the moment. I'm going to email you this textbook as well that talks you through from the Field Studies Council. I've provided you via email all of the example projects because they wouldn't fit on Teams. And then in this folder here, you've got the different AQA suggestions on the different hypotheses. My suggestion of the safest projects are certainly changing places and urban, especially because we can't actually get out there and go on any trips per se. So back to this. So your initial thoughts of what you might start looking at, so what areas you find interesting, where you might carry out your project, kind of data, what sort of questions you might ask. And then once you've done that initial thought, and again I can go over that with you on Monday, you're then going to give a title, which is your main hypotheses, the actual page number from the specification and the quote from the spec that you'll be investigating, the aim of your research, so what you're trying to find out, and then you break your main hypotheses into three, and you'll see that from the example projects. Your proposed locations for your collection, and any sort of safety or ethical issues that you might have. So if you think about if you're doing questionnaires in a busy urban area, think about the types of questions you're asking, because you don't want people to feel exposed or embarrassed or anything like that, so you've got to do that very delicately. And on this section you'll write down the primary and secondary data that you might be collecting, both qualitative and quantitative. Possible statistical methods, again use a textbook to help you here, but if you're looking at relationships and things, you might want to consider different statistical testing. Possible presentation techniques you might consider, any further data that you might use, and maybe even using ArcGIS mapping that you'll see in some of the projects that has been used really successfully. So we start with an introduction, so that's the aim of the study. You will then have a literature review by which you will use Harvard referencing, which we'll come on to later. You will then state your research questions and hypotheses and link that to the specification. You'll set out your location of your study, why you're doing it, and your study framework. Again, look at the examples for what that looks like in reality. You'll then have your methodology section. Again, there's some excellent examples that I've provided for you, but you'll talk about which techniques you're using, your sampling methods, and also you will link to how these will help you answer your hypotheses by referring to your literature review. A little bit more information about sampling strategies. You will then have your data analysis and presentation section, and you can integrate your analyses with your presentation methods or keep them separate and then refer to them. But again, you'll see all the different styles in the exemplars. Just a little bit of information about some common pitfalls that we don't want you to make. Then you will draw your conclusions. Now, it's best in action to draw a conclusion for each of your mini hypotheses, and then an overall executive conclusion looking at the main hypotheses. You then conduct your evaluation section, part 6, where you look at the reliability of the data you gathered, the validity, and any limitations and improvements. You also have a distinct section looking at the wider context of your study, so how this could be extended to further research for other researchers, for instance, or for yourself, and also ethical problems that you encountered along this endeavour, this investigation. So these are your mark schemes. We're in the different areas. So area 1 is your lit review and your intro, worth 10 marks. Your method and field research, it's 15 marks. Your critical analysis is a really important one, and that's 20 marks. And then your conclusions, evaluation and presentation are all together with 15 marks. So there's some little bit of information about how to organise your project, and you'll see some excellent examples of really succinct projects are the best. The ones where the examiner is not painfully trying to find the marks. A little bit of information here about how to correctly Harvard reference within your literature review, so read this really carefully. Talks about how to direct quote or integrate quotes. You will also need to compile for every piece of reading or website or software that you're using. You will need a bibliography at the end of your project. So this section talks about how you will reference it. I would suggest keeping your bibliography right from the get-go, so that you don't forget to reference any book, article, journal, website, newspaper article that you use. Okay, so in summary, check which section you're actually going to use before you start looking at the spec. The most sensible solutions, I would say, would be going for a change in places one. Then you will look at the specification, by which you will find the area of study that you're interested in to quote it. That will also go in your bibliography. And then we've also got this textbook, which I'll email out now with this video, which talks you through how to plan your project, the methods that you might use, sampling, etc. I'm here to answer any questions via email before Monday. Monday at 1 o'clock I can offer Q&A one-to-one, and then obviously on Wednesday you will be giving me your proposals. So good luck, guys.